My family is from a small village in West Africa, nestled right where the dense jungle meets the mighty Orimara River. The river gives us life. It also takes it away. This story wasn't just a tale to scare children, it's my family's inheritance of shame and terror, passed down from my grandfather, Kojo. Everyone in the village knew the rules. You take only what you need from the Orimara. You throw back the first catch of the season as an offering. You never, ever speak ill of the river while on its waters. And above all, you never, ever lay a hand on the children of Umoja. The children were what we call the mermaids. They weren't the beautiful, singing maidens of Western cartoons. Ours were fierce, territorial river spirits. They had the upper bodies of women with skin the color of wet, polished river stones, and long, black hair that floated around them like waterweed. Their lower halves were powerful, scaled like a catfish, and ended in a tail that could capsize a canoe. Their eyes held the cold, ancient darkness of the deepest parts of the river. My grandfather, Kojo, was the best fisherman his generation had ever seen. But he was also proud, and his pride festered into greed. During a great drought, when the fish were scarce and the village was hungry, Kojo took his canoe out to the forbidden bend in the river, a place whispered to be the grotto of a particularly wicked mermaid named Oshome. The story said Oshome was a priestess of Umoja who had been betrayed by a human man centuries ago. She drowned him and his entire lineage, and in her grief and rage, she was transformed, becoming a guardian of the river who held a special, burning hatred for faithless and greedy men. Kojo, in his desperation, cast his net into the murky water of the forbidden bend. The pool was immense. He struggled, muscle straining, and finally hauled in a catch that made his heart leap. It was a massive, glistening fish, unlike any he had ever seen. Its scales shimmered with all the colors of oil on water. But as he pulled it into his canoe, he saw it wasn't a fish at all. Tangled in his net was a small, exquisitely carved comb made of bone and inlaid with river pearls. It was breathtakingly beautiful. And he knew, with a cold certainty, that it belonged to one of the children. The rule screamed in his head, "Leave it. Throw it back. It is not for you." But greed is a louder voice. He looked at the comb, a thing of obvious magic and value, and imagined the wealth it could bring his struggling family. He silenced his conscience and hid the comb in his pouch. The water, which had been still, began to churn. A head broke the surface a few feet from his canoe. It was Oshome. Her face was ethereally beautiful, but her eyes were pits of black ice. Her hair fanned out around her, and he could see the powerful, sinuous curve of her tail just below the surface. "You have something of mine, thief," she said, her voice the sound of water rushing over smooth stones, soft yet capable of eroding mountains. Kojo, terrified but stubborn, lied. "I have nothing, spirit. I caught only a fish." Oshome's lips curled into a smile that held no warmth. "The river always knows a lie, fisherman. It flows through every deception. That comb was a gift from my mother, Umoja. To steal it is to steal from the river herself. There is no forgiveness for this." She didn't attack him. She didn't drag him under. She simply sank below the surface, leaving Kojo trembling in his canoe. He thought he had escaped. He paddled home, his face slowly turning to triumph. He had outsmarted a river spirit. He hid the comb in a small chest, telling no one. The drought broke the next day with a torrential downpour. The village rejoiced. But our family's curse began. The following week, Kojo's eldest son, my uncle, went out to fish. His canoe was found smashed to splinters against the rocks. His body was never recovered. A month later, his wife, heavy with child, went to fetch water from the riverbank. Witnesses said she simply walked into the current. She didn't struggle. She had a blank, peaceful look on her face as the water took her. Kojo knew. He went to the river, fell to his knees, and begged for mercy. He threw the comb back into the water, sobbing. Oshome surfaced, holding the comb in her hand. "It is too late, thief," she said, her voice echoing with the sound of a drowning man's last gasp. "The debt is called. You stole what was precious to me. Now, I will take what is precious to you. Not just you, Kojo. You're lying. Every firstborn son of your blood will be mine. They will hear my song in the river, and they will come to me. This debt will be paid, generation after generation, until the name of Kojo is wiped from the land and from the memory of the water. My grandfather went mad. He died a broken man, whispering about dark eyes in the river. We thought it was just a story, a tragic coincidence. Until my father, the firstborn of his generation, went missing on his 30th birthday. They found his shoes by the river. My older brother, Kwame, was a practical man. An engineer who lived in the city. He laughed at the silly village legend. He came home for a visit last year. On the night of his 30th birthday, he woke my mother and me, his eyes glassy. He said he could hear the most beautiful music, a woman singing his name from the direction of the Orimirai. He walked out of the house in a trance. We found his phone on the riverbank. The screen was wet. There were no footprints leading away. I am the second son. I have always been safe. But my time is coming. My 30th birthday is in 3 months. I moved to a landlocked city thousands of miles away. I live in a concrete apartment block with no rivers, no lakes, not even a large pond for miles. But last night, I woke up thirsty. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water. As I stood at the sink, the tap running, I heard it. Faint, as if from a great distance, carried through the pipes. A woman's voice, singing a wordless, haunting melody. And underneath the melody, a whisper, cold and wet. The river always finds a way. The debt must be paid. She never forgives. And she's coming for me.